The sun hangs like a leaden weight over Benwick, its heat pressing down on the scorched earth of France. Lancelot stands alone before the gates, his white surcoat a ghost against iron-grey stone. Across the dust, a shadow lengthens. Gawain, the sun's own knight, comes forward with a roar like a dying empire. His shield is notched, his armor caked in grime. This is the moment where the Fellowship of the Round Table finally ends. Gawain's eyes burn with a fever no water can quench. Steel rasps against leather as Lancelot draws Joyeuse, the blade weeping light in the mid-morning glare. Will Lancelot's mercy finally break the cycle of blood, or will Gawain's fury tear the last heart out of Camelot? The world was not always this grey, and the air was not always thick with the scent of burning orchards and the cold, bitter taste of broken oaths. There was a time when the Round Table was a ring of living light, a circle where the best of men found their purpose. Lancelot of the Lake had been the centre of that light, the king's right hand and the realm's brightest blade. Beside him stood Gawain, the nephew of Arthur, a man of iron loyalty and a heart as vast as the Orkney cliffs. They were more than brothers, they were the pillars of Britain. They were the twin pillars upon which the dream of Arthur rested. They had hunted in the woods of Usk, shared wine in the halls of Caerleon, and bled for one another on 100 nameless fields. But a shadow grew in the corners of the hall, born of a forbidden love and a secret that could no longer be kept. When the truth shattered the peace, the kingdom split apart like seasoned oak under a heavy axe. Lancelot did not choose to destroy the Brotherhood, but fate is a cruel weaver. In the frantic chaos of his rescue of the Queen from the stake, Lancelot rode through the guards with a blind intensity. He struck out at anyone who barred his path, his vision blurred by smoke and the need to save the woman he loved. Only when the dust settled did he see the horror he wrought in his desperate haste. Lying in the mud were Gareth and Gaheris, Gawain's younger brothers, the boys Lancelot himself had knighted, the youths who had loved him with pure devotion. They had been unarmed, guarding the pyre out of duty, but refusing to draw steel against their hero. And Lancelot had cut them down. In that instant, the bond of the Round Table didn't just crack, it vanished into the wind, replaced by a cold, sharp, and eternal hate. Lancelot's strategy was born of soul-crushing guilt. He would not fight. He fled to Gaul, hoping distance and time would cool the fires of revenge. He sent messengers with offers of peace and penance, willing to walk barefoot from Rome to Jerusalem if it would satisfy the blood debt. He wanted only to crawl into the silence and let the world forget his name. But he had forgotten the unyielding nature of Gawain's iron soul. Gawain's grief was not a thing that could be bargained with. It was a transformative poison. It turned his loyalty into a weapon and his love for Arthur into a whip to drive the king to war. Gawain did not want an apology. He wanted the head of the man who had been his brother. He forced Arthur's hand, demanding a siege of Benwick, dragging the remains of the Round Table across the sea for vengeance. The night before the duel, the camp is a place of ghosts. Lancelot spends the hours in his chapel, not praying for victory, but for a way out that does not involve more blood. He refuses to sharpen Joyeuse. He looks at his hands and sees only the faces of Gareth and Gaheris. He knows the secret of Gawain's strength, the enchantment that causes Gawain's power to grow with the rising sun, peaking at noon. This power peaks at high noon before fading with the evening light. It is a terrifying gift, making Gawain nearly invincible for half the day. Lancelot dons his armor slowly, each piece a weight of regret. He remembers the day he knighted Gareth, the feel of the boy's shoulder under his palm. He whispers to the empty air, "I will not kill him. I will not take another brother." Outside, the air is cold. Lancelot's squires move in silence, checking the horses. There is no boasting here, no songs of victory. The knights who followed Lancelot look at him with a mix of pity and awe. They know he is the better swordsman, but they also know he is fighting a man who has lost his soul and has nothing left but rage. Gawain is already mounted, his spear shaking in his hand. Gawain has spent the night screaming Lancelot's name into the dark. The symbol of their old friendship, a shared crest, lies discarded in the dirt. As the first ray of sun touches the horizon, the gate of Benwick creaks open. Lancelot rides out alone. The first contact is like a thunderclap that shakes the foundations of the earth, a collision of steel and broken hearts. The sun begins its climb, and the final duel begins. Gawain charges with the power of a falling mountain, his lance shattering against Lancelot's shield with a spray of splinters. Lancelot does not counter, he only absorbs. The sun is climbing now, and with every inch it rises, Gawain's muscles swell, his strikes becoming faster and heavier. Lancelot is forced onto the defensive. He retreats step by step, his boots carving deep furrows in the French soil as steel bites into iron with a relentless rhythm. The sound is rhythmic, a heartbeat of iron. "Murderer!" Gawain screams, his voice cracking with agony. "Defend yourself or die!" Lancelot says nothing. He moves with a fluid grace, his blade a silver wall that catches every blow, but he never seeks an opening. He is waiting for the sun to pass. The struggle becomes a dance of endurance. By mid-morning, Gawain is a whirlwind of destruction. Each blow from his axe would fell an oak. Lancelot's shield is being whittled away to nothing. The heat is unbearable. Sweat stings Lancelot's eyes, and his breath comes in ragged, burning gulps. He is forced to adapt, using Gawain's own momentum against him, dodging by a hair's breadth as the ground turns to a slurry of dust and sweat. The knights on the walls and the soldiers in the camp watch in silence. They are seeing the two greatest warriors of the world erase one another. Lancelot's original plan to simply hold out is failing. Gawain's strength is too great, his fury too relentless. Lancelot realizes that if he does not strike back, he will die, and if he dies, Arthur's kingdom will have no one left to protect it from the vultures. As the sun reaches its zenith, Gawain is no longer a man. He is a force of nature. His sword glows with heat. He rains down blows that buckle Lancelot's knees. Lancelot hits the ground, the iron of his greaves clashing against the stone. Gawain looms over him, his face a mask of hatred, his breath a wet rattle. In that moment of near defeat, Lancelot looks up and sees not a monster, but a man hollowed out by pain. He sees the vulnerability behind the rage, the secret that Gawain isn't trying to avenge his brothers, he is trying to find a way to stop the hurting. The realization hits Lancelot harder than any blade. Gawain wants Lancelot to kill him because he cannot bear the weight of being the last one left. This is a slow suicide. Lancelot's resolve hardens into something colder than ice. As the sun tips past the noon meridian, Gawain's strength begins to ebb. It is a slow drain, but to a master like Lancelot, it is a closing door to a final victory of mercy over murder. He rises from the dirt, his movements suddenly sharp and decisive. He stops retreating. He steps into the circle of Gawain's guard, his sword moving like a needle through silk. Within minutes, the tide has completely turned. Gawain is gasping, his movements clumsy and heavy. Lancelot delivers one final shattering blow that sends Gawain crashing into the dust, his sword spinning away. Lancelot stands over his fallen friend, the tip of Joyeuse at the knight's throat. "Yield, Gawain," Lancelot whispers, his voice thick with grief. "I will not kill you. I have shed enough of your blood." Gawain spits into the dirt. "Finish it, Lancelot. I will never stop." Lancelot sheathes his sword and walks toward the gates. He has won the duel, but he has lost everything else. The final storm is gathering at Camlann, where the father will face the son and the last of the knights will fall. History remembers Lancelot as the greatest of knights, the paragon of chivalry and the undoing of a kingdom. But in this trial, he learned that mercy is a heavier burden than any armor, and some wounds are too deep for any heart to heal. Walk with us through the old stories as the shadows grow long. Subscribe to Saga Weaver, where ancient warriors face impossible choices. The next storm of the saga is already on the horizon.